Today I'm going to give you the only power phrase you should need to ensure that your ideas or you are not dismissed anymore at work, unless you're committing one of these 3 fatal errors that women who tend to be dismissed tend to make. Because if you are, well, all the power phrases in the whole wide world won't be able to help you. So let's get started. Mistake number 1. Are you challenging the listener to understand you rather than helping the listener understand the point you're making? Here's how this sounds when you do it.
I'm not sure if this makes sense.
Or,
I don't know if I'm saying this the right way, but...
When we challenge people, before we even deliver our message, if we challenge them to understand us, they are going to be much more likely to find reasons why we are not easily understood. You'll notice that people who are easily understood set their messages up in a way where the listener finds it easy. It sounds something like this. Here's how I see it. So the next time you're in a situation where you're brainstorming or where you have been invited to contribute your solutions to the problems at hand, preface what you're about to say with things such as, "This is how I see it," or "This is my perspective," and then you tell them how you see it. Before I get to number 2, if you have found some value in this video so far, remember that the very best way to support me for free is just to hit that subscribe button. If you do that, it helps keep these videos coming, and I would really appreciate that. Mistake number 2, telling people how you think rather than what you think. For example, do you say things such as,
Well, this is just how my brain works.
Or,
You have to understand, when I see things like that, what I start to think.
do not challenge people to understand your thought process. If you do that, you're doomed. Instead, the next time you're telling people that you see things a certain way because of the way you think, say this: "When I see this, it tells me that." That's how you want to say that, without explaining the way you think. Simply telling people, "When I see A, I think B," and people will find it to be more logical. Or, mistake number 3, are you using very disempowering questions where you should be using simple statements? Here's how this sounds.
Can I just throw something in real quick?
Or,
Is it okay if I just jump in here for a moment?
remember that in basically any conversation that you are involved in at work, if you are at the table, it's because you are being invited to give your thoughts or your opinions or your solutions or your deductions. Don't ask for permission to join in or be a part of the conversation to which you have been invited already. You will notice that those who are taken seriously, those who are not dismissed, don't do that. They simply state what they have to say. And if you want to give your conclusion based on the evidence at hand, and it's more comfortable or it seems to help the flow by adding some type of lead-in line to it, just try the lead-in line, "I suggest," or "I recommend." But be careful, that is different from "I'd recommend" or "I'd suggest." Before I give you the examples, I wanted to remind you that if you are serious about transforming your image at work from one that is easily dismissed to one that is totally irreplaceable, you want to download the free handbook that'll give you everything that we've talked about here, plus more, so that you can, starting today, take action steps to do that and ensure that your message will never be dismissed again. So download that, the link's in the description, and you'll be good to go. Now let's get into those examples. Putting them all together, without even knowing what my idea is. If I were to say to you,
Now, I don't know if this is going to make sense to you, but the way my brain works, I'm kind of thinking that X is going to lead to Z, so if I can just make one statement or suggest one thing, I'd suggest ABC.
or, here's how I see it. When I see XYZ, it tells me ABC. Therefore, I suggest 1, 2, 3. Who do you have more confidence in? Let's talk about when you feel as if someone may be dismissing your idea or people aren't heeding your words as you would like them to. This is the one phrase that will get people to pay attention to the message that you just sent. You ready? Before I move along, I have to ensure that I made my point clear. When I said X, was it clear that that meant Y? Let's say that I was talking to a group of people and John is the leader of the pack. If I just said something that I don't feel really got the attention it deserved, before we move along, I have to say something such as, "John, before I move along, I have to ensure that my point was made clear. When I said XYZ, was it clear that the implication is ABC?" That's all there is to it. There are 3 reasons why that works so well. Number 1, you are seen as someone who knows how to set and enforce boundaries. This boundary is, I'm not moving along or relinquishing control until I am sure that my point was made clear. That's not an unreasonable request, or that's not an unreasonable boundary. Number 2, I'm letting people know that I set the rules of engagement when I am being engaged. Since I have been invited to be here, I'm going to ensure that when I make a contribution, it is at least heard. And I'm doing that by simply stating before I move along, I have to ensure that I made my point clear. When I said XYZ, was it clear that that meant ABC? And that brings me to the third reason this works so well, because I'm not saying anything about anybody else. I'm not involving you and your poor communication skills. I'm not testing you. I'm not ratting on you. When I say something such as, I have to ensure that my point was made clear before I move along. So when I said ABC, was I clear that the implication was XYZ? That's 100% I language. That's all about me. And chances are I'm not offending anybody there by doing that. And at the same time, remember, I'm setting boundaries and the rules of engagement with me. That's what people do who are taken seriously. And it challenges, by the way, the people to whom I'm saying this to review the message that I sent and let me know what parts might have been left unclear. Because while people don't like to admit what they don't understand, which is what most ineffective communicators do to try and be heard, they will say things like,
Did that make sense? Was that clear?
and what that's saying is, did that make sense to you? Was that clear to you? Challenging their own intelligence. But instead of saying that, all I did was say, when I said this, was I clear that this meant that? People really like to tell me what I might have left unclear. That's very different from what they don't understand. And if you'd like to learn more tactics like this for not just this situation, but for other situations, like when people do steal your ideas in front of a group, when people are interrupting you just so that they can steal the floor from you and try to make you look less than while they build themselves up, make sure to download that free guidebook. The link is in the description, and you're going to get power phrases, danger phrases, and much more to help you take immediate action and ensure that you will never be dismissed again. And after you've done that, if you do not yet know what the 5 things are that women do who win, that women don't do who don't win, check out this video. You're really going to like it. I'll see you in there.